Cosmic Conquest. Earth's fierce response shocked the universe. They say every empire believes it's invincible, right up until the moment it isn't. The Kalthreen Dominion had ruled the outer spiral for 3 centuries. 47 worlds conquered, 0 defeats. Their military doctrine was simple, elegant, and had never failed. Overwhelming force, inevitable surrender, efficient integration. Commander Zhara had personally overseen 12 of those conquests. She'd seen species with technology superior to humanity's fold within days. She'd watched civilizations that had existed for millennia accept servitude rather than face annihilation. She approached Earth, expecting routine compliance. What she got instead was a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Never, ever underestimate humanity. This is the story of how a primitive species rewrote the rules of galactic warfare, turned predators into prey, and earned a reputation that would make empires tremble. This is the story of Earth's fierce response and how it shocked the universe. Part 1. The Watcher's Commander Zhara of the Kalthreen Dominion stood on the bridge of the war dreadnought Relentless Pride, her 3 eyes scanning the holographic display of the blue-green world below. Target 773. The locals called it Earth. Preliminary scans complete, Commander, reported her tactical officer, a young male with unmarked carapace. This was his first conquest. Population 7.9 billion. Technology level early space age. Nuclear weapons detected. No unified planetary government. Multiple nation-states in various states of conflict. Zhara's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Standard pre-contact civilization. They'll submit within 72 hours. Her strategic advisor, old veteran Krell, shifted his massive bulk. The fragmented political structure could complicate negotiations, Commander. No single authority to accept terms. Then we make an example of the largest population centers, Zhara replied, her voice carrying the casual certainty of someone who'd done this dozens of times before. 3 cities. Precision strikes. Minimal casualties. They'll unite quickly enough when they understand the alternative is extinction. It was the standard playbook. The Dominion had refined it over 3 centuries of expansion. Show overwhelming force. Demonstrate the cost of resistance. Offer generous terms of integration. Accept surrender. Move to the next target. Simple. Efficient. Humane by galactic standards. Sensors detect primitive orbital satellites, the tactical officer continued. Weapons platforms in development but not yet deployed. Their most advanced military installations are surface-based. Commander, this species poses no credible threat to Dominion forces. They never do, Zhara said. Begin standard first contact protocols. Broadcast our terms in their dominant communication languages. I want their leaders to understand exactly what they're facing. The communications array hummed to life, transmitting across every frequency Earth's primitive technology could detect. The message was direct, translated into Mandarin, English, Spanish, Arabic, and Hindi, the most spoken languages on the planet. Attention, inhabitants of Target 773. Designated Earth. This is Commander Zhara of the Kalthreen Dominion. Your world has been selected for integration into the Dominion. Resistance is futile. Surrender is inevitable. You have 72 hours to dismantle your military forces, dissolve your governments, and prepare for Dominion authority. Failure to comply will result in the systematic destruction of your major population centers. We do not wish to exterminate your species. Submit, and you will be granted worker status within the Dominion. Your civilization will continue to exist. Your people will serve a greater purpose. Resist, and you will be eradicated. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Zhara leaned back in her command throne, satisfied. The message was perfect, threatening enough to inspire fear, generous enough to provide hope. Within hours, Earth's leaders would begin negotiating the terms of their surrender. How long until we receive their response? She asked. 12 hours based on previous conquest timelines, Krell replied. Their governments will need time to coordinate, to accept the reality of their situation. Then we wait, Zhara said. Maintain orbital blockade. Prepare demonstration strikes on the designated targets. New York, Beijing, Mumbai. If they don't respond appropriately, we'll teach them the price of defiance. The bridge crew settled into their stations. confident in another easy victory. They had no idea what was about to hit them. Part 2. The message President Sarah Martinez sat in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. Her face illuminated by the cold glow of multiple screens showing similar scenes from every major capital on Earth. World leaders, military commanders, scientists, everyone who mattered was connected to this emergency session. "Can someone please explain to me?" she said slowly, her voice carrying the dangerous calm of a woman holding her temper by a thread. "How we went from 'we're alone in the universe' to surrender or die in the span of 6 hours." General Marcus Webb, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, pulled up satellite imagery. At 0347 Zulu time, this appeared in orbit. The screen filled with the image of a vessel so massive it defied comprehension, easily 20 miles long, bristling with weapon systems, its surface gleaming with technology humanity couldn't begin to understand. "It's been broadcasting that message on repeat," Webb continued. "Every language, every frequency. They want us to know exactly how outgunned we are." "And are we?" Martinez asked. "Outgunned?" "Completely," Webb admitted. "Our best analysis suggests their smallest weapons could level a city in seconds. That ship alone could sterilize the planet if they wanted to. Ma'am, if they decide to make good on their threat, we have no meaningful defense." "Then we surrender," said Prime Minister Chen of China, his image flickering on one of the screens. "What choice do we have?" "The hell we do," growled Russian President Volkov. "We've faced extinction before. We didn't surrender to Hitler. We didn't surrender during the Cold War. We don't surrender to alien invaders. Those were human conflicts," argued the German Chancellor. "This is different. We're talking about a species that's conquered 47 worlds. They have centuries of experience at this. What do we have? Pride? Stubbornness. We have home field advantage," said Martinez quietly, and everyone fell silent. "They're expecting us to fold. Every species they've encountered has surrendered rather than face annihilation. They think we're going to follow that pattern. Aren't we?" asked the French president. "No," Martinez said, her voice hardening, "because they made one critical mistake in their message. They gave us 72 hours. They think we need time to accept the inevitable, to overcome our denial and face reality. But what they've actually given us is time to prepare." "Prepare for what?" Webb asked. "Ma'am, with all respect, we can't win a military confrontation with these things." "We can't win a conventional confrontation," Martinez corrected. "General, how many times in human history has a technologically superior force been defeated by inferior opponents?" Webb's eyes widened as he understood. "Vietnam, Afghanistan, the American Revolution, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics." "Exactly." Martinez leaned forward. "They want to conquer Earth? They want to turn us into some kind of slave labor force? Fine, let them try. But we're going to make them bleed for every inch. We're going to make this planet so expensive, so costly, so absolutely not worth the trouble that they'll wish they'd never found us." "You're talking about fighting a galactic empire with improvised explosives and ambush tactics," said Prime Minister Chen, disbelief evident in his voice. "I'm talking about refusing to go quietly," Martinez replied. "I'm talking about making them understand that humans don't surrender. We fight. And if they want Earth, they're going to have to take it from our cold, dead hands. They have the firepower to arrange exactly that," warned the Chancellor. "Maybe," Martinez acknowledged. "But here's what I know about bullies. And make no mistake, that's what this Dominion is. Bullies are used to people folding. They're not used to victims fighting back. They're certainly not used to victims fighting smart." She pulled up a map of Earth. "We have 72 hours. In that time, I want every military asset we have dispersed and hidden. I want our industrial capacity converted to war production. I want every person on this planet who knows how to fight to be ready. And I want one more thing." "What's that?" Webb asked. Martinez smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "I want to send these bastards a message they'll never forget. They think humanity will surrender? Let's show them exactly how wrong they are." 12 hours later, the Kalthreen Dominion received Earth's response. It wasn't a plea for mercy. It wasn't a desperate attempt at negotiation. It was a single sentence, broadcast on the same frequencies the Dominion had used, in perfect Kalthreen language that Earth's linguists had deciphered from the original message, "Come and take it." On the bridge of the Relentless Pride, Commander Zhara stared at the message in disbelief. In 3 centuries of Dominion expansion, no species had ever responded with defiance. Not one. Analysis, she demanded. It appears to be a colloquial expression of refusal, her linguistic officer replied. Historical context suggests it originates from their military traditions, a statement of absolute unwillingness to surrender, regardless of odds. They're insane, muttered the tactical officer. Do they not understand what they're facing? But Krell, the old veteran, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Or perhaps they understand perfectly well, and they're telling us something we should have anticipated. What? Zhara demanded. That we're not dealing with a civilization that accepts servitude gracefully. Krell pulled up historical data on the 47 conquered worlds. Commander, I've reviewed every conquest in Dominion history. Every species that surrendered shared certain characteristics: strong survival instinct, logical decision-making processes, hierarchical social structures that could be co-opted. He highlighted Earth's file. This species, they war among themselves constantly. Their history is an unbroken chain of conflicts. Many of them fought despite overwhelming odds. They have cultural mythologies celebrating last stands and doomed causes. They're predators, Commander. We've conquered herbivores and logical beings. We've never tried to integrate a species like this. Then they'll learn the cost of that defiance, Zhara said coldly. Commence bombardment of the designated targets. Show them what resistance earns them. Commander, Krell warned, I recommend we reconsider. Your recommendation is noted and dismissed. Zhara cut him off. Target New York, precision strike. Estimated casualties 8 million. Perhaps that will teach them the price of defiance. The Relentless Pride's main weapons array powered up, energy readings spiking as it prepared to deliver judgment on the defiant species below. On Earth, every eye turned skyward, watching the vessel in orbit begin to glow with deadly intent. And in command centers across the planet, military forces activated plans that had been frantically prepared over the previous 12 hours. The Kalthreen Dominion was about to learn why you should never corner a predator. Part 3. First Blood. The weapons array of the Relentless Pride reached full charge. On the bridge, Commander Zhara watched the targeting display lock onto coordinates in the North American continent, the city designated New York. Firing solution achieved, reported the tactical officer. One shot will eliminate the primary target and surrounding infrastructure. Estimated casualties, 8.3 million. Fire, Zhara commanded. The dreadnought shuddered as it released a lance of coherent energy that screamed through Earth's atmosphere, a pillar of destruction that would vaporize everything in a 3-mile radius and incinerate everything for 10 miles beyond that. It should have worked. The targeting was perfect. The power output was more than sufficient. By every calculation, New York City should have ceased to exist. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beam hit and scattered. What? Zhara lurched forward in her command throne. What just happened? Unknown, Commander. The tactical officer's voice cracked with shock. The beam encountered some kind of interference field. The energy dispersed across the atmosphere instead of penetrating to the surface. That's impossible. They don't have that technology. Confirmed, Commander. Somehow they generated a massive electromagnetic field that disrupted our weapon's coherence. The strike failed. On Earth, in a hastily constructed command bunker in Colorado, President Martinez watched the readouts with grim satisfaction. Did it work? She demanded. Dr. Sarah Chen, head of DARPA's Emergency First Contact Response Team, was staring at her screens in disbelief. It worked. Oh my God, it actually worked. We generated enough atmospheric ionization to scatter the beam. New York is still standing. How did we? Martinez started. Every power plant on the eastern seaboard, Chen explained rapidly. We coordinated their output through the power grid, created a massive electrical surge, and dumped it into the atmosphere at the exact moment of impact. We essentially turned the sky over New York into the world's biggest bug zapper. Their energy weapon couldn't maintain coherence through the interference. Can we do it again? Maybe twice more before the grid collapses. 3 times tops. Ma'am, this was a one-shot defense. It won't work for long. It doesn't have to work for long, Martinez said. It just has to work long enough. How long until their ship can fire again? Based on the energy readings, at least 2 hours. Those weapons draw enormous power. Then we have 2 hours to make them regret ever finding us. Martinez turned to General Webb. Execute Operation Hornet's Nest. In orbit, Commander Zhara was recovering from her shock. That was a fluke. They got lucky, disrupted our targeting somehow. It won't happen again. Recalibrate for Beijing. We'll teach them— Commander! The sensor operator interrupted. Multiple launches from the surface. Primitive rocket propulsion, but— Commander, they're targeting us. Evasive maneuvers, Zhara ordered, more from reflex than genuine concern. What damage could primitive rockets possibly do to a ship of the line? The first wave of missiles reached the Relentless Pride and detonated, not on impact, but in a coordinated pattern around the vessel. Nuclear weapons, crude and unsubtle, but employed with unexpected sophistication. The electromagnetic pulse from 36 nuclear detonations washed over the dreadnought like a tidal wave. Shields holding, reported the tactical officer. Minor system disruptions. Nothing critical. Commander, their weapons are ineffective against our defenses. But Zhara was watching her sensors with growing unease. Then why are they still launching? The answer came 60 seconds later. The nuclear detonations had served a purpose, not to damage the Relentless Pride, but to mask the approach of something else. Hundreds of smaller objects, too small to be missiles, traveling on unpowered ballistic trajectories that kept them hidden until it was too late. Collision warning, the tactical officer screamed. Multiple impacts imminent. The object struck the dreadnought's hull like a shotgun blast. Solid tungsten rods launched from railguns, each one traveling at hypervelocity speeds. Individually, they were little more than annoyances to a ship of this size. But there were hundreds of them, and they'd been aimed with disturbing precision, at critical systems, at sensor arrays, at weapon emplacements, at the exact weak points where armor was thinnest. Hull breaches on Deck 7, 12 and 19, shouted the damage control officer. Sensor array 3 is offline. Point defense grid compromised. Commander, they knew where to hit us. Zhara's mandibles clicked in agitation. Impossible. They've never seen this ship design before. How could they possibly know our vulnerable points? On Earth, in a nondescript office building in Silicon Valley, a team of software engineers and military analysts were working at frantic speed, processing data from every telescope, every satellite, every sensor that had studied the alien dreadnought since it arrived. Got another one, called out Lieutenant James Park, highlighting a section of the alien vessel on his display. Heat signature suggests power conduits running through this section. If we hit it here— He traced a line through the ship's structure. We could knock out their secondary weapons array. Confirmed, said his supervisor, a former NASA engineer named Dr. Patricia Okonkwo. Sending targeting data to Missile Command. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not just throwing rocks at them anymore. We're performing surgery. The second wave of attacks launched from Earth focused on the weak points the analysts had identified. More railgun strikes, more missiles, and this time something new. Chemical lasers, built from adapted industrial equipment, focused through hastily constructed arrays in orbit. They weren't powerful enough to penetrate the dreadnought's armor, but they didn't need to be. They just needed to blind sensors, to overwhelm defensive systems, to create chaos. Status report, Zhara demanded as another series of impacts rocked her ship. Shields at 70%, multiple system failures. They're targeting our communications array now. Commander, I don't understand. These are primitive weapons. They shouldn't be able to coordinate like this. And then clearly our intelligence was wrong about their capabilities, Zhara snarled. Return fire. Target their launch sites. But finding those launch sites proved frustratingly difficult. The humans had learned from decades of fighting each other. They kept their forces mobile, hidden, dispersed. By the time the Relentless Pride identified a launch site and targeted it, the humans had already moved their equipment and disappeared. Worse, they were using the planet itself as cover, attacking from behind mountains, from beneath ocean waves, from within the planet's magnetic field, where sensors struggled to distinguish weapons from natural phenomena. This is absurd, Zhara muttered, watching her tactical display fill with phantom contacts and false readings. We're a starfaring civilization. They're barely capable of leaving their own gravity well. How are they doing this? Home field advantage, Krell said quietly. They know every mountain range, every ocean trench, every magnetic anomaly. They've been fighting wars on this planet for millennia. And, Commander, I don't think they're trying to defeat us. What? Look at their attack pattern. They're not going for killing blows. They're targeting specific systems, sensors, communications, weapons. They're not trying to destroy the relentless pride. They're trying to blind it, cripple it, make it vulnerable. Vulnerable to what? They don't have anything that can seriously threaten us. Don't they? Krell highlighted something on the sensors. Power readings building at multiple points on the planet's surface, far larger than anything they'd detected before. Commander, I think they're about to show us exactly what they're capable of. On Earth, at carefully hidden locations across the globe, humanity's most ambitious project was reaching completion. In just 72 hours, engineers and scientists had jury-rigged something that should have taken years to develop. They'd taken every high-energy physics facility on the planet, particle accelerators, fusion test reactors, experimental energy weapons, and linked them together. Then they'd aimed all that collected power at a single point in orbit. Charging complete, Dr. Chen reported to President Martinez. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The relentless Pride's sensors detected the energy buildup too late. A beam of coherent particles, crude and unstable by galactic standards, but backed by every ounce of power humanity could generate, lanced up from Earth's surface. It struck the dreadnought amidships, right where Lieutenant Park's team had identified a critical power junction. The beam wasn't powerful enough to penetrate the ship's armor on its own, but that armor had already been weakened by hundreds of railgun impacts. The particle beam punched through the compromised section and struck the power conduit directly. The resulting explosion tore through 3 decks of the relentless Pride engineering section compromised. The damage control officer's voice was panicked now. Main power fluctuating. Shields down to 30%. Commander, we need to withdraw. Zhara couldn't believe what she was hearing. Withdraw from a pre-spaceflight civilization? The Dominion had never withdrawn from a conquest. Never. But the cold reality of her tactical situation was undeniable. The relentless Pride had lost 40% of its combat effectiveness in the first engagement. The humans, despite their primitive technology, were fighting with a ferocity and cunning that none of Dominion's previous opponents had shown. Pull back to high orbit, she ordered, the words tasting like ash. Maximum defensive posture. Prepare a full battle analysis. I want to know exactly what went wrong. As the massive dreadnought limped away from Earth, trailing atmosphere from breached compartments, humanity watched in stunned disbelief. They'd done it. Against all odds, against a vastly superior opponent, they'd bloodied an interstellar warship and forced it to retreat. In command centers across the globe, people erupted in cheers. It was premature, they all knew that, but for just a moment, humanity allowed itself to believe the impossible. They could fight back. They could resist. They could win. On the bridge of the relentless Pride, Commander Zhara stared at her damaged vessel and made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Send a message to Dominion Command, she said coldly. Request immediate reinforcements. Full battle fleet. And tell them, she paused, her mandibles clicking with barely suppressed rage. Tell them we've encountered a species unlike any we've faced before. Tell them Earth will not be an easy conquest. Part 4. Adaptation. The Dominion's response to their first defeat was swift and overwhelming. Within 18 standard days, 5 additional war dreadnoughts arrived in Earth's solar system, along with 30 support vessels, 400 fighter craft, and a ground invasion force of 50,000 warriors. It was the largest military deployment the Dominion had committed to a single conquest in over a century. High Commander Vraxis, a veteran of a dozen successful campaigns, assumed command from the relentless Pride, which was undergoing repairs in high orbit. Let me understand this correctly, Vraxis said, his massive form towering over the tactical display. He was a different species than Commander Zhara, a Krellian heavy-worlder, built like a tank and just as subtle. You were defeated by a pre-contact civilization, using primitive chemical weapons and improvised tactics. The humans demonstrated unexpected resourcefulness, Zhara replied, struggling to maintain her dignity. They coordinated their defense with remarkable efficiency and, you failed because you underestimated them, Vraxis cut her off. A mistake I will not repeat. The Dominion has sent me to finish what you started. This planet will be ours within 20 days, or every human will be dead. Those are my orders from High Command. The humans won't surrender, Zhara warned. They've proven— I don't care what they've proven, Vraxis growled. I care about results. And the result will be their submission or their extinction. He turned to his tactical staff. Begin orbital bombardment of major population centers. Not precision strikes, saturation bombardment. I want every city with over 1 million inhabitants reduced to rubble within the next 72 hours. The humans will surrender when they realize we're willing to exterminate them. On Earth, President Martinez received the intelligence reports with a sinking feeling. How many ships? She asked General Webb. 6 dreadnoughts, ma'am. 30 support vessels. We bloodied 1 ship. Now they've sent an entire battle fleet. Webb's expression was grim. Our analysts estimate we can maybe destroy 1, perhaps 2 dreadnoughts before they overwhelm our defenses. After that, he didn't need to finish. After that, Earth would be defenseless against orbital bombardment. Then we don't fight them in space, Martinez said, so he let them land. Every military advisor in the room started talking at once. Ma'am, you can't be serious. Ground combat against an alien invasion force. We'll be slaughtered. Quiet! Martinez's voice cut through the chaos. Think about what they want. They want our resources, our labor force. They can't get that if they turn the planet into a radioactive wasteland. Yes, they can bombard our cities, kill millions. But eventually they'll need to land troops to secure their conquest. And when they do, we make them fight for every inch, General Webb realized. Urban warfare. Guerrilla tactics. Everything we learned from Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, but amplified. Exactly, Martinez said. We evacuate the cities we can. We fortify the ones we can't. And we prepare to teach these invaders why humans have been so good at killing each other for 10,000 years. We've had a lot of practice. There's another option, said Dr. Chen quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. We've been analyzing the wreckage from our first engagement. The aliens' technology is advanced, yes, but it's not incomprehensible. Their ships run on fusion power. Their weapons use directed energy. Their armor is a metamaterial that's actually less effective against kinetic weapons than energy weapons. So, Webb asked. So we can hurt them, Chen replied. More than that, we can learn from them. Every piece of debris that fell from their ship is a treasure trove of technology. We're already reverse engineering their materials science. Give us time and we can level the playing field. We don't have time, Martinez said. They're coming now. Then we buy time, Chen insisted. We fight them with what we have. We study what they bring. And we adapt faster than they expect us to. It was humanity's greatest strength. Really, adaptability. The ability to learn from every encounter, to modify tactics on the fly, to turn the enemy's strengths into weaknesses. The Dominion was about to get a masterclass in human ingenuity. The orbital bombardment began at 600 Zulu time. High Commander. Vraxis had chosen his targets with cold efficiency. The world's 20 largest cities struck simultaneously. The goal was to break human morale in a single devastating blow. But humanity had spent the past 18 days preparing. The major cities had been evacuated as much as possible. Those who couldn't leave had been moved to hardened shelters, subways, underground parking structures, reinforced basements. The cities themselves had been transformed into massive decoys, filled with inflatable buildings, holographic projections, and just enough heat signatures to fool orbital sensors. The bombardment that should have killed hundreds of millions killed fewer than 2 million. Still, a horrific tragedy, but nowhere near the devastating blow Vraxis had intended. Impossible. Vraxis roared as the damage assessments came in. Where are the population centers? Where are the factories? Where are the humans? They evacuated, High Commander, reported his intelligence officer. Scattered into the countryside, into underground bunkers, into areas too small for efficient bombardment. They anticipated our tactics. Then we hunt them down. Vraxis slammed his massive fist on the tactical display. Deploy ground forces. Secure population centers. Begin systematic pacification operations. The invasion began 3 days later. Dominion dropships descended on every continent, deploying warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. They were heavily armed, well-trained, and absolutely confident in their superiority. They were also walking into prepared kill zones. The first dropship to land in North America touched down in what used to be downtown Los Angeles. The city was eerily quiet, streets empty, buildings abandoned. Too quiet. Squad leader Thrax was a 30-year veteran of Dominion service. He'd seen combat on hostile worlds, fought against species with natural weapons and aggressive tendencies. He knew a trap when he saw one. Defensive formation, he ordered his squad of 12. Weapons ready. Scanford, the building to their left exploded. Not from a missile or a bomb, from shaped charges that had been carefully placed to direct the blast precisely at the dropship's landing zone. The explosion tore through 6 of Thrax's warriors before they even knew they were under attack. Contact! Thrax screamed into his comm. We're under... A sniper round punched through his helmet from a mile away. The humans had been studying the alien armor, looking for weak points. They'd found them. All across Los Angeles, similar ambushes erupted. Dominion forces found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, couldn't engage in the conventional battles they'd trained for. The humans didn't fight fair. They used booby traps, IEDs, sniper fire, hit-and-run tactics. They turned the urban environment into a maze of death, where every building could hide enemies, where every street corner could be a kill zone, and they were learning. Every engagement provided data. Every alien weapon recovered was studied, reverse-engineered, adapted. Within a week, human forces were using captured Dominion energy rifles. Within 2 weeks, they'd figured out how to jury-rig human explosives to penetrate alien armor. They're adapting too quickly, Krell reported to Vraxis during a command briefing. High Commander, our forces have taken 40% casualties in urban combat. The humans are using tactics we've never encountered. Suicide attacks, false retreats, coordinated ambushes, and they're learning from every engagement. Then we stop giving them engagements, Vraxis decided. Pull back from urban areas. Establish secure perimeters. If they want to hide in their cities, let them starve. That will take months, possibly years. High Command expects results. High Command isn't fighting these psychotic primates. Vraxis roared. Do you have any idea what I'm dealing with? Yesterday, a human female, one female, killed 4 of my warriors with a fertilizer bomb. She drove a vehicle packed with explosives directly into a checkpoint and detonated it. No hesitation. No attempt to escape. Just pure suicidal determination to kill as many of us as possible. He pulled up casualty reports. Our warriors are trained for combat. They're professionals. These humans, half of them are civilians, shopkeepers, teachers, office workers. And they're fighting like they have nothing to lose. Perhaps, Krell said quietly, because they don't. High Commander, we gave them an ultimatum. Submit or die. We didn't leave them any middle ground. Every human knows that surrender means slavery for themselves and their children. So they've chosen to fight. Then they'll all die, Vraxis said coldly, will they? Krell pulled up strategic analyses. High Commander, we've been on this planet for 3 weeks. We've deployed 50,000 warriors. We've lost 22,000. Nearly half our ground forces gone. At this rate, we'll run out of troops before the humans run out of fighters. Vraxis stared at the numbers, mandibles clicking in agitation. Impossible. They're primitives. They're survivors, Krell corrected. And they're teaching the galaxy something we forgot. Technology doesn't guarantee victory. Will does. The turning point came in what humans called the Battle of the... Rocky's High Commander Vraxis had decided to establish a major forward, operating base in the mountains of North America, defensible terrain, difficult for the humans to assault, perfect for coordinating planetary occupation operations. He sent 3,000 warriors, supported by air superiority and heavy weapons. What he didn't know was that the humans had spent 2 weeks preparing that mountain range for his arrival. The Dominion force advanced into the mountains, confident in their sensors and their firepower. They detected some human resistance, scattered guerrilla fighters, nothing concerning. Then the mountains came alive. Avalanches, triggered by carefully placed explosives, buried entire companies. Rockslides blocked retreat routes. And from every cave, every crevice, every impossible angle, humans attacked, not with advanced weapons, with rifles, with explosives, with traps that would have been familiar to soldiers from Earth's 20th century. but used with devastating effectiveness by people fighting for their home. The Dominion warriors had superior technology. The humans had superior knowledge of the terrain, superior motivation, and absolutely no intention of letting the invaders establish a foothold. The battle lasted 6 days. Of the 3,000 Dominion warriors who entered the Rockies, fewer than 200 escaped, on the relentless Pride, now serving as the command vessel, while Vraxis's dreadnought was under repair from a suicide attack. Commander Zhara watched the casualty reports with grim satisfaction. "I tried to warn him," she said to Krell, who had been reassigned to her command. "This changes everything," Krell replied. "High Commander Vraxis is recommending to Dominion Command that Earth be designated a high-threat world. He's requesting authorization to use forbidden weapons, biological warfare." Zhara's eyes widened. "That violates the Accords. So does losing a conquest to a pre-spaceflight civilization," Krell pointed out. "The Dominion's reputation is at stake. If word spreads that humans defeated us, every subjugated species in the Empire might think they can rebel. High Command cannot allow that. Then what do? "We wait," Krell said. "And we hope the humans are as smart as I think they are." Part 5. The trapped President Martinez stood before the holographic display showing the locations of Dominion forces across the globe. 3 months into the invasion, and the situation had reached a terrible stalemate. The aliens controlled the orbits and could bombard with impunity. Humanity controlled the ground and made every landing a bloodbath. Neither side could claim victory, but the cost in human lives was becoming unsustainable. "We're running out of time," General Webb reported. "Our intelligence suggests the Dominion is preparing to escalate. Biological weapons, possibly worse. If they decide we're too expensive to conquer, they might just exterminate us and move on. Then we need to change their calculus," Martinez said. "We need to make them believe we're more valuable as allies than as slaves." "How do we do that?" asked Dr. Chen. "They see us as primitives." "But we're primitives who've been winning," Martinez pointed out. 3 months ago, they thought this would be a routine conquest. Now they've lost half their ground forces and 2 entire dreadnoughts." She smiled grimly. "We've hurt them, embarrassed them. What if we offer them a way to save face?" "You want to negotiate?" Webb looked shocked. "After everything they've done?" "I want to survive," Martinez replied. "And I want humanity to remain free. If we can achieve both through negotiation, isn't that better than fighting to the last human?" "They won't negotiate in good faith," protested the Chinese premier via hologram. "They'll see it as weakness. Not if we negotiate from a position of strength," Martinez said. "Not if we show them that continued war will cost them more than peace." "Dr. Chen, you said we've been reverse engineering their technology. How far have we gotten?" Chen pulled up technical schematics. "Further than they know. We've cracked their fusion reactor design. We've figured out how to manufacture their metamaterial armor. And we've discovered something interesting about their ships." She highlighted a section of a captured Dominion vessel. "Their dreadnoughts are powerful, but they have a critical vulnerability. The main reactor requires exotic matter to function, material they can't manufacture locally. They have to import it from their home systems, meaning..." Webb leaned forward. "Meaning their ships have a finite operational period before they need to resupply. Based on the energy signatures we're reading, I estimate they have maybe 6 months of fuel remaining before they'll have to leave to refuel." Martinez smiled. "So if we can hold out for 6 more months, they'll have to withdraw anyway. Unless they get resupply," Chen warned, "which they undoubtedly have already requested. Then we make sure that resupply never arrives," Martinez decided. "General, I need a crazy plan. Something unpredictable. Something they won't see coming." Webb thought for a moment. Then his expression changed to something almost manic. "I think I have something. But you're going to think I'm insane. General, we're fighting aliens with improvised weapons. Sanity left the building 3 months ago. What's your plan?" "We go on offense," Webb said. "We stop defending Earth and start attacking their infrastructure, their supply lines, their command structure." "How?" demanded the Russian president. "We can barely leave our own atmosphere." "Not anymore," Dr. Chen interrupted. "Madam President, we've been so focused on the ground war that we haven't shared the latest developments. Using reverse-engineered Dominion technology, we've built 3 small spacecraft. They're crude, barely spaceworthy, but they can reach orbit. What good are 3 small ships against their fleet?" Martinez asked. None for conventional combat, Webb replied, but they don't need to win a fair fight. They just need to be unpredictable enough to cause chaos. He pulled up a star chart showing the solar system. The Dominion has established a supply depot on Mars, using it as a staging area for operations against Earth. It's guarded, but not heavily. They never expected us to be able to reach it. You want to raid Mars, Martinez said slowly. I want to destroy their supply depot, capture their fuel reserves, and force them to divert resources away from Earth. Webb corrected. It's risky, probably suicidal, but if we pull it off, we'll buy ourselves the time we need. Martinez looked around the room at her advisors, her military commanders, the representatives of a species fighting for its survival. Do we have volunteers? You're looking at one, said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Colonel Maria Santos, commander of the U.S. Space Force's Experimental Division. She'd lost her entire family in the initial bombardment. Husband, 2 children gone in an instant. Since then, she'd been running missions that had a 50-50 chance of coming back. I'll take the mission, she said, but I need the 2 best pilots in the solar system and a ship that can fly. You'll have them, Martinez promised. How long to prepare? We leave in 72 hours, Santos replied. Any longer, and they might detect our preparations. On the relentless Pride, Commander Zhara was reviewing reports when an alert flashed across her console. What is it? She asked her sensor operator. Energy signatures from Earth, Commander. 3 vessels launching from the surface. Small craft, primitive design, but they're accelerating toward Mars. Zhara pulled up the tactical display, staring at the 3 human ships climbing out of Earth's gravity well. They built spacecraft? In 3 months? Apparently so, Commander, Krell said, admiration evident in his voice. Using our own technology against us. These humans continue to surprise. Contact High Commander Vraxis, Zhara ordered. Tell him the humans have launched some kind of assault force toward Mars. He'll want to... Commander, the sensor operator interrupted. The Mars depot isn't responding to our hails. We've lost contact. A cold feeling settled in Zhara's stomach. Show me Mars now. The display shifted to show the Dominion supply depot on the red planet's surface. Or rather, what was left of it. The facility was in ruins, fires burning in the thin Martian atmosphere, storage tanks ruptured and venting their contents into space. How? Zhara whispered. How did they get there before our sensors detected them? They didn't, Krell realized. Those 3 ships launching now, they're a diversion. The real attack force must have launched days ago, using stealth technology. Commander, the humans played us. Find them, Zhara ordered. Find those ships before they escape. But the human vessels had already completed their mission. Using captured Dominion propulsion technology and shielded by debris from the destroyed depot, 3 small craft were accelerating back toward Earth. Their holds filled with stolen fusion fuel and weapons. Colonel Santos allowed herself a grim smile as Mars fell away behind her. The mission had cost them. 2 crew members dead, her ship badly damaged, but they'd done it. They'd struck back, proven that humanity could take the fight to the enemy. This is Raider 1 to Earth Command, she transmitted. Mission successful. Depot destroyed. Returning home with prizes. Santos out. On Earth, President Martinez listened to the transmission and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Ladies and gentlemen, she said to her command staff, we just changed the game. The Dominion thought we were trapped on Earth, fighting a defensive war. We just proved we can strike anywhere in the solar system. Now let's see how they adapt to that. High Commander Vraxis was in the middle of planning a massive ground offensive when the news from Mars reached him. For a long moment, he simply stared at the reports, unable to process what he was reading. Then he began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. They raided Mars, he said, his voice carrying a manic edge. These primitives, who 3 months ago couldn't leave their own planet, just destroyed our supply depot and stole our fuel reserves. High Commander? His aide asked nervously. Do you know what this means? Vraxis continued. It means they're learning faster than we can adapt. It means everything we know about warfare is obsolete against this species. It means, he paused, then said something that stunned everyone on the bridge. It means we might actually lose. Impossible, said the tactical officer. We have superior numbers, superior firepower, and they have home field advantage, unlimited determination, And apparently the ability to master our technology faster than we can understand theirs, Vraxis interrupted. I need to speak with Dominion High Command immediately. This situation has gone beyond a simple conquest. We're fighting a species that might be more dangerous than we ever imagined. The communication went out that night, traveling faster than light to the Dominion homeworld. In it, High Commander Vraxis made a recommendation that no Dominion commander had made in 3 centuries. Withdraw from Earth, classify humans as a Tier 1 threat species, and never ever provoke them again. The response from Dominion High Command was immediate and unambiguous. Request denied. Victory or death. Failure is not an option. Use whatever force necessary to complete the conquest. Vraxis read the message and felt something he'd never experienced in his long military career, genuine fear. They don't understand, he said to Krell. High Command thinks this is about pride, about maintaining our reputation. They don't realize what we're dealing with. Then we make them understand, Krell replied. Or we prepare for something no Dominion force has experienced in 300 years. What's that? Total defeat. Part 6. Escalation. The Dominion's response to the Mars raid was swift and brutal. High Commander Vraxis, operating under direct orders from Dominion High Command to achieve victory, by any means necessary, authorized the use of weapons that had been forbidden under galactic accords for centuries. The first orbital kinetic strike hit at dawn. A tungsten rod, launched from orbit at hypersonic speed, struck the Nevada desert with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The resulting explosion created a crater 3 miles wide and vaporized everything within a 10-mile radius. The target had been a suspected human command center. Intelligence later revealed it had been an abandoned mining facility used as a decoy, but Vraxis didn't care about accuracy anymore. He cared about sending a message, comply or be erased. Over the next week, 16 more kinetic strikes hit targets across Earth. Not military installations. Vraxis had learned the futility of trying to hit dispersed guerrilla forces. Instead, he targeted infrastructure. Power plants, water treatment facilities, agricultural centers. If humanity wanted to fight, they'd do it while starving in the dark. President Martinez watched the devastation unfold from a command bunker that had been relocated 3 times in as many weeks. The Dominion had gotten serious about hunting down human leadership. Casualty estimates? She asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. 3 million dead from the strikes themselves, General Webb reported, his voice hollow. Projected casualties from infrastructure loss. Another 20 million over the next 6 months if we can't restore basic services. We need to end this, said the Chinese premier, his holographic image flickering with the power fluctuations affecting the global communications network. Madam President, we cannot sustain losses at this rate. Perhaps it's time to consider, if you say surrender, I swear to God I'll find a way to punch you through this hologram. Martinez interrupted. They're targeting civilians now. They're trying to break our will by murdering innocents. You want to reward that by giving them exactly what they want. I want to save what's left of humanity, and I want to ensure humanity has a future worth saving. Martinez shot back. We surrender now. We spend the rest of our existence as slaves to an empire that's proven it will commit genocide to get what it wants. Is that the legacy you want? The room fell silent. Finally, the Russian president spoke. What do you propose? We hurt them worse than they hurt us, Martinez said grimly. Dr. Chen, tell them about Project Prometheus. Chen pulled up schematics that made even the hardened military personnel in the room gasp. Using reverse-engineered Dominion technology and our own nuclear weapons, we've developed something unprecedented. A fusion bomb wrapped in a shell of stolen exotic matter. When detonated, it creates a temporary rupture in space-time. In English? Demanded the French president. It's a weapon that can destroy a dreadnought, Chen said simply. 1 shot, 1 kill. We can build 3 of them with the material we captured from Mars, but deploying them is suicide. We'd need to get within point-blank range of their ships. So we find volunteers, General Webb said. God knows we have enough people who've lost everything and want payback. That's murder, protested the German Chancellor. Sending people on suicide missions, it's war, Martinez cut her off. And in case you haven't noticed, we're losing. These weapons might be the only thing that can change the balance of power. The question is, do we have the courage to use them? The vote was close, but it passed. 3 weapons, 3 targets, 3 crews who volunteered knowing they'd never come home. The first strike launched from Australia. Captain Sarah Kim, former Air Force pilot and survivor of the Sydney bombardment, flew a captured Dominion shuttle that had been retrofitted with human weapons and one Project Prometheus device. Her target, the dreadnought Iron Will, which had been responsible for 17 kinetic strikes. She flew low, using Earth's atmosphere to mask her approach, then accelerated straight up through a narrow gap in the Dominion defensive perimeter. By the time their sensors detected her, she was already within the Iron Will's point defense range. The dreadnought's weapons tore her shuttle apart, but not before she triggered the Prometheus device. The explosion didn't look like a normal detonation. Instead of a fireball, there was a moment where space seemed to fold in on itself, reality bending like paper, and then the Iron Will simply ceased to exist. The massive warship collapsed into a point of infinite density and vanished, taking 3 escort vessels with it. On Earth, every eye watched the sky as one of the alien dreadnoughts disappeared in an impossible flash of light. The second strike launched from Brazil an hour later, piloted by Lieutenant Commander Chen Rodriguez. His target, the relentless Fury which had led the initial ground invasion. But the Dominion had learned from the first attack. They saw him coming. Rodriguez never got close enough to deploy his weapon. Point defense fire turned his shuttle into debris before he could reach effective range. The third strike came from an unexpected angle. Major Yuki Tanaka, former astronaut and the person who'd helped design the Prometheus weapons, had hidden her shuttle on the moon. She'd been waiting there for 2 weeks, surviving on recycled air and pure determination. When the Dominion fleet repositioned to respond to the Brazilian attack, she launched from behind them, accelerating at speeds that should have torn her crewed shuttle apart. Her target, High Commander Vraxis's personal dreadnought, the Eternal Dominance, suicide craft detected, screamed the sensor operator on the Eternal Dominance's bridge, incoming from lunar orbit. Destroy it! Vraxis ordered, but Tanaka had one advantage the others hadn't: experience with zero-gravity combat maneuvers. She twisted her shuttle through fire that should have shredded it, using every trick she'd learned in astronaut. Training to buy herself precious seconds, it was enough. She got within range and triggered the Prometheus device. The last thing Yuki Tanaka saw was space itself tearing apart, the Eternal Dominance folding in on itself like a house of cards, and then nothing on Earth. Humanity watched as a second dreadnought vanished from their skies. And on the remaining Dominion vessels, the realization hit like a physical blow. The humans could kill them. Commander Zhara stood on the bridge of the relentless Pride, now the de facto flagship of the Dominion fleet, and felt something she'd never experienced before: genuine terror. High Commander Vraxis is dead, she said quietly. The Eternal Dominance is gone. We've lost 2 dreadnoughts in 2 hours. Someone give me options. We withdraw, Krell said immediately. Commander, we cannot win this war. The humans have proven they can destroy our vessels. They've stolen our technology and weaponized it against us. Every day we remain in orbit, we risk losing more ships. Dominion High Command has ordered us to achieve victory, Zhara replied. Withdrawal is not an option. Then High Command is condemning us to death, Krell shot back. Commander, look at the tactical situation objectively. We have 4 dreadnoughts remaining. The humans have proven they can build weapons capable of destroying them. We've lost 60% of our ground forces. Our supply lines are compromised. Our intelligence is worthless because the humans adapt faster than we can gather data. This is not a war we can win, Zhara wanted to argue, but the numbers didn't lie. 3 months ago, the Dominion had committed overwhelming force to what should have been a routine conquest. Now they were fighting for survival against a species that refused to accept the logic of their own defeat. What do you suggest? She asked finally. Negotiation, Krell said. Not from a position of weakness, but from mutual respect. We acknowledge that the humans cannot drive us from their system, but we also acknowledge that they can make conquest impossibly expensive. We offer them terms, not servitude, but cooperation, trade, technology exchange, a partnership instead of subjugation. Dominion High Command will never approve. Then don't ask for approval, Krell replied. Commander, you are the ranking officer of this fleet. High Commander Vraxis is dead. You have the authority to make strategic decisions. Make one now before we lose any more ships. For a long moment, Zhara said nothing. Then she made a decision that would change galactic history. Open a communication channel to Earth, she ordered. All frequencies. I wish to speak with their leadership. And prepare a white flag transmission in their cultural database. We're going to do something the Dominion has never done. What's that, Commander? We're going to ask for peace. Part 7. The turning point. President Martinez was in the middle of a strategy session when the communication came through. Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet, her communications director announced. They're using white flag protocols. They want to talk. The room erupted in confusion. It's a trick, General Webb insisted. They're trying to catch us off guard. Or they're actually scared, Dr. Chen countered. We just destroyed 2 of their dreadnoughts. Maybe they've realized this isn't worth the cost. Martinez silenced them with a gesture. Put it through. The holographic display shimmered and Commander Zhara appeared, the same alien who'd been in charge when this whole nightmare began. She looked different now. Tired. The arrogant certainty she'd displayed 3 months ago was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. President Martinez, Zhara said, her translator converting her speech into clear English. I am Commander Zhara of the Kalthreen Dominion. I wish to discuss terms for ending hostilities. Funny, Martinez replied coldly. 3 months ago, the only terms you offered were surrender or death. What's changed? We have, Zhara admitted. The Dominion believed Earth would be a routine conquest. We believed your species would accept subjugation as the logical response to overwhelming force. We were wrong. Damn right you were wrong, Martinez shot back. You've killed 25 million people. You've destroyed our infrastructure. You've tried to break our will through terrorism and mass murder. And now that we've proven we can hurt you back, you want to talk peace. Yes, Zhara said simply, because continuing this war serves neither of our interests. We cannot conquer you, not without committing resources that would threaten our own empire. You cannot drive us away, not without casualties that would devastate your species. We are locked in a conflict neither side can win. So you want a truce. I want a treaty, Zhara corrected. Recognition of Earth as a sovereign world. Withdrawal of Dominion military forces. Establishment of diplomatic relations and trade agreements. Peace, President Martinez. Actual, genuine peace. Martinez looked around the room at her advisors. General Webb looked skeptical. Dr. Chen looked hopeful. The holographic representatives of other world leaders showed a range of expressions from relief to suspicion. What's the catch? Martinez asked. What does the Dominion get out of this? Survival, Zhara replied bluntly. And access to your most valuable resource. Not your labor, not your minerals, but your minds. Your species has accomplished in 3 months what should have taken decades. You've reverse-engineered our technology, weaponized concepts we never imagined, fought with a creativity and determination that we've never encountered. The Dominion would be fools to destroy that potential when we could benefit from it. You want to hire us, Martinez realized. We want to work with you, Zhara said. As equals, partners, not masters and slaves. The Dominion has conquered 47 worlds, President Martinez. We've never made this offer to any of them, but we've never faced a species like yours. Give us a moment, Martinez said, muting the transmission. She turned to her team. Opinions? It could be legitimate, Dr. Chen said. They've lost too much to keep fighting. A negotiated peace might be their best option. Or it's a delaying tactic while they bring in reinforcements, Webb countered. Our intelligence suggests their nearest reinforcements are months away, Chen replied. And every day they stay in orbit, they're burning through fuel reserves they can't replace. Mathematically, they need this peace as much as we do. Martinez looked at the world leaders on the holographic displays. Vote. Do we negotiate or keep fighting? The vote was closer than she expected, but it passed. Earth would talk. The negotiations took place on neutral ground, a hastily constructed space station built from scavenged human and Dominion components, orbiting at the L1 Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon. Martinez led the human delegation personally, despite protests from her security detail. Zhara represented the Dominion, with Krell as her advisor. Before we begin, Martinez said as they gathered around a circular table designed to prevent anyone from sitting at the head. I need something clarified. Is your Dominion High Command on board with these negotiations? Zhara hesitated, and that hesitation told Martinez everything she needed to know. You're going rogue, Martinez said. Your command structure hasn't authorized this. Dominion High Command, Zhara replied carefully, is light years away and operating on outdated intelligence. They believe we're still capable of achieving a military victory. I know differently. By the time we could convince them of the reality of our situation, dozens more ships might be lost. Millions more humans might die. So yes, I am exceeding my authority. I am making a decision that may cost me my command, possibly my life. But it's the right decision. Martinez studied the alien commander for a long moment. Okay, I can respect that. Let's talk terms. The negotiations lasted 72 hours straight. The Dominion wanted access to human innovation, our scientific community, our creative problem-solving, our unconventional thinking. They offered advanced technology, access to galactic trade networks, and protection from other hostile species. Humanity wanted independence, reparations for the damage done, and ironclad guarantees that the Dominion would never again attempt to conquer Earth. The compromises were painful on both sides. The humans agreed to share their scientific advances and provide consultant services to Dominion R&D divisions, but as contractors, not slaves. Well-paid contractors with full rights and protections. The Dominion agreed to withdraw all military forces from Earth's solar system, pay substantial reparations, and formally recognize Earth as a sovereign world under the protection of galactic law. There's one more thing, Martinez said as they approached the end of negotiations. Something non-negotiable. Name it, Zhara replied, clearly exhausted. The galaxy needs to know what happened here. Not sanitized, not spun, the truth. That the Dominion tried to conquer Earth and failed. That humans fought back and forced you to the negotiating table. That we're not easy prey. That will damage Dominion prestige significantly, Krell warned. Good, Martinez said bluntly, because every other species out there needs to know humans don't surrender. We fight and we win. If that prevents future conflicts, then it's worth the bruise to your empire's ego. Zhara clicked her mandibles. A gesture Martinez had learned meant frustrated acceptance. Agreed, but we also tell them that humans make valuable allies. That cooperation with your species yields benefits worth more than conquest. Deal, Martinez said, extending her hand. Zhara stared at the gesture for a moment, then reached out with her own appendage and grasped Martinez's hand. The first human-Dominion handshake in history was captured by cameras from both species and broadcast across both worlds. The Treaty of L1, as it came to be called, was signed by all parties 3 days later. The Dominion fleet withdrew to high orbit, then beyond lunar orbit, then finally out of the solar system entirely, except for a small diplomatic contingent stationed at the new L1 station, which was renamed Crossroads Station and designated as neutral territory for human-Dominion interaction. On Earth, the celebrations were muted. Too many had died, too much had been destroyed, but there was also relief and pride, and a growing sense that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. We did it, General Webb said, standing next to Martinez as they watched the last Dominion dreadnought disappear from Earth's sky. We actually did it. We fought off an alien invasion. We survived, Martinez corrected, and we earned ourselves a reputation. The question now is, what do we do with it? Part 8, Endgame 6 months after the Treaty of L1, Earth was transforming. The Dominion reparations had included not just financial compensation, but also technology transfers, medical advances, energy systems, manufacturing techniques that were revolutionizing human industry. But the changes went deeper than just technology. Humanity had looked at the stars and seen predators. We'd fought them off. Now we knew the galaxy was hostile, competitive, and full of species that viewed us as resources to be exploited. We'd never be caught unprepared again. Welcome to Orbital Defense Platform 7, Colonel Santos said, leading President Martinez on a tour of humanity's newest military installation. 6 months ago, Santos had been a grieving widow planning suicide missions. Now she was overseeing the construction of Earth's defensive network. The platform was massive, 3 miles in diameter, bristling with weapons that were part human ingenuity and part Dominion technology. Railguns, missile batteries, and 3 more Prometheus weapons, carefully maintained and ready for use if needed. We have 8 of these platforms now, Santos reported. Another 12 under construction. Within 2 years, Earth will have a defensive grid that can engage any hostile force before they reach our atmosphere. And if another Dominion fleet shows up? Martinez asked. We've planned for that too, Santos replied, pulling up tactical displays. Crossroads Station isn't just diplomatic headquarters. It's an early warning system. We'll know about any approaching fleet weeks before they arrive. Time enough to prepare to call in allies to make sure no one ever catches us off guard again. Allies? Martinez questioned. You think other species will stand with us? I think the galaxy just learned that humans punch above our weight class, Santos said with grim satisfaction. Word has spread about what happened here. The Dominion's attempts to suppress the story failed. Too many independent observers, too much chatter on galactic networks. Every species out there now knows. Humans are dangerous, we're innovative, and we don't lose. Martinez moved to the observation window, looking down at the blue-green marble of Earth. It's not just about being dangerous, though. It's about being smart. The treaty proved we can negotiate, can work with former enemies. Speaking of which, Santos said, checking her comm, your next appointment is here. Commander Zhara entered the observation deck, looking strange in the human-designed environment, but moving with growing familiarity. She'd been permanently assigned to Crossroads Station as the Dominion's ambassador to Earth, a role that was part penance and part recognition of her role in brokering peace. President Martinez, Zhara greeted her formally. I have news from the Dominion homeworld. Good news or bad news? Martinez asked. That depends on perspective, Zhara replied. Dominion High Command has officially ratified the Treaty of L1. They're also implementing something unprecedented, a review of all previous conquests, examining whether other subjugated species might be better served as allies than slaves. Martinez raised her eyebrows. We inspired political reform in an empire? You inspired survival instinct in an empire, Zhara corrected. The Dominion leadership realized that if humans could resist us, others might try. Better to reform voluntarily than wait for rebellions to spread. Earth's resistance may have saved billions of beings from servitude. Unintended consequences, Martinez mused. We were just trying to survive. You did more than survive, Zhara said. You've changed the galaxy's political landscape. Other species are already reaching out through diplomatic channels, wanting to establish relations with Earth. Some are curious. Some are frightened, but all of them respect you. What about the Dominion? Martinez asked. Does your empire respect us now? The Dominion, Zhara said carefully, has learned to fear you, which is a form of respect, I suppose. She paused, then added, For what it's worth, I respect you. You fought with honor even when we didn't. You showed mercy when you could have pursued revenge, and you taught an empire that believed itself invincible a valuable lesson in humility. What lesson was that? That technology doesn't determine winners, Zhara replied. Will does. And humanity has more will than any species I've encountered. After Zhara left, Martinez stood alone on the observation deck, looking down at Earth. The scars of the war were still visible from orbit, the craters from kinetic strikes, the darkened zones where power grids had been destroyed, but new lights were appearing every day as humanity rebuilt, stronger and more determined than before. Her communicator chimed. Dr. Chen's voice came through. Madam President, you need to see this. We've detected something. Another Dominion fleet? No, something else. Multiple signatures, different from Dominion designs. And they're broadcasting on frequencies we've never heard before. Martinez felt her stomach tighten. How many? 12 ships. Not hostile posture, but definitely interested in Earth. Ma'am, I think the galaxy just learned about humanity's existence, and everyone wants to meet the species that defeated the Dominion. Martinez closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with determination. All right. Contact Commander Zhara, General Webb, and the other world leaders. It seems Earth's introduction to galactic politics is just beginning. Are we ready for this? Chen asked. Martinez looked at the orbital defense platforms, at the rebuilt cities below, at the stars beyond where more alien species were waiting. Ready or not, Humanity just graduated from planetary species to galactic player. We survived our first test. Let's see how we handle the rest. Part 9. Aftermath. On year after the Treaty of L1, Crossroads Station had transformed from a hastily constructed negotiating venue into the beating heart of human galactic relations. Ambassador Chen, Tommy's aunt, had been promoted from her temporary diplomatic role to Earth's first official ambassador to the galactic community. Walked the corridors that now bustled with representatives from 17 different species. Some had come out of curiosity, others came seeking trade agreements, a few came looking for military alliances. All of them came because they'd heard the stories about the humans who'd beaten the Dominion. Ambassador Chen, called a voice that sounded like wind through crystal. She turned to see Ambassador Crystalis of the Viridian Concordat, a species that looked like living gemstones and had been quietly oppressed by Dominion trade policies for decades. I wanted to thank your people personally. For what? Chen asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. For giving the rest of us hope, Crystalis replied. The Viridians have been under Dominion economic control for 2 centuries. We never believed resistance was possible. Then Earth came along and proved otherwise. Last month, we renegotiated our trade agreements from a position of strength. The Dominion actually listened, because they were afraid we'd fight like humans if they didn't. Chen smiled. We didn't fight to inspire a revolution. We fought because we had no choice. That's what makes it inspiring, Crystalis said. You didn't have grand ideals or centuries of preparation. You were scared and desperate and outgunned. And you won anyway. That's the kind of story that changes civilizations. After Crystalis left, Chen made her way to the station's observation lounge, where she found Colonel Santos nursing something that looked like coffee, but was apparently a Kalthreen beverage that Santos had developed a taste for. Fraternizing with the former enemy? Chen asked with a smile. Learning from them, Santos corrected. Turns out the Dominion has 3 centuries of combat experience we can learn from. And they're surprisingly willing to share, now that we're not shooting at each other. Chen sat down next to her. Do you ever think about what we lost? The millions who died? Whether it was worth it? Santos was quiet for a long moment. Every day. I think about my husband, my kids. I think about everyone who didn't make it. And then I think about what would have happened if we'd surrendered. She gestured at the station around them, at the bustle of interspecies activity. We'd be slaves. Our children would grow up in servitude. Earth would be just another conquered world, a footnote in Dominion history. Instead, we're the galaxy's newest power player, Chen said. Instead, we're free, Santos corrected. Everything else, the respect, the fear, the political influence, that's all secondary. What matters is that humanity gets to choose its own destiny now. That's worth any price. On Earth, the changes were accelerating. The massive technology transfer from the Dominion had jump-started advances in every field. Medical science had leaped forward decades. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries were now curable. Energy production had become clean and abundant. Manufacturing capabilities had exploded. But perhaps the most significant change was psychological. Humanity had looked at the stars and seen them filled with threats. We'd fought back and survived. Now a new generation was growing up, knowing that humans belonged in the galaxy, not as victims or servants, but as equals. Dr. Sarah Chen, who'd stayed on Earth while her aunt went to Crossroads Station, was teaching at what had been MIT, but was now the International Institute of Xenotechnology. Her classroom was packed with students from around the world, all eager to learn about the alien technology that humanity had captured, studied, and improved upon. The Dominion made one critical mistake, she told her students. They assumed that technological advancement follows a linear path. They'd been developing their technology for centuries, refining it, perfecting it, but they'd also become conservative with it, afraid to experiment, unwilling to take risks. She pulled up a comparison of human and Dominion reactor designs. This is their fusion reactor, elegant, efficient, refined over generations. And this is ours, cobbled together in 3 months from stolen components and human ingenuity. Theirs is objectively better in almost every measurable way. Then why did we win? A student asked. Because better isn't the same as adaptable, Chen replied. Their reactor is optimized for their specific needs and unchanged for decades. Ours is a mess, inefficient, unpredictable, prone to breakdowns. But it's also modular, hackable, improvable. We can iterate on our design every month. They'd need a decade of committee reviews to make significant changes. She looked around the classroom. That's humanity's advantage. We're not more advanced than older species, but we're more willing to break things, to experiment, to try the impossible. And in a universe where everyone else plays it safe, that makes us dangerous. In Geneva, the newly formed United Earth Council was in session, a political body that had emerged from the chaos of the Dominion War. For the first time in human history, Earth had something approaching a unified government. Not a world government in the traditional sense, but a council where nations came together to speak with one voice on galactic matters. President Martinez, now serving as the council's first Secretary General, addressed the assembled representatives. "We face a choice," she said. "Earth has been given a seat at the galactic table. We have respect, we have influence, we have opportunities our ancestors couldn't have imagined. The question is, what kind of galactic citizen do we want to be? We should build up our military," argued the Russian representative. "Ensure no one ever threatens Earth again. We should focus on exploration," countered the Brazilian representative. "Use our newfound technology to explore the galaxy, discover new worlds." "We should establish ourselves as mediators," suggested the Japanese representative. "Use our unique perspective as newcomers to help resolve galactic conflicts." "We should do all of it," Martinez said, but carefully. "Remember, we earned our reputation through desperate defense, not aggressive expansion. The galaxy respects us because we fought to protect our home, not to conquer others. If we want to maintain that respect, we need to be strategic about how we use it." She pulled up a star chart showing Earth and the surrounding sectors. "We're already receiving requests for human military advisors from 3 species facing Dominion pressure. We're being asked to mediate disputes between trading partners. And 6 different species want exclusive trade agreements with Earth. We should capitalize on that," said the American representative. "We should be careful with it," Martinez countered. "The Dominion had 3 centuries to build their empire. We've had 1 year. If we move too fast, expand too aggressively, we risk becoming what we fought against, another imperial power that other species need to resist. So what do you propose?" asked the Chinese representative. "Slow growth. Strategic partnerships. We help species that ask for help, but we don't impose ourselves. We trade with everyone who wants to trade, but we don't play favorites. And above all, we remember what this war taught us, that respect comes from how you treat others, not from how much power you have." Back on Crossroads Station, Commander Zhara was having a very different conversation with her superiors via quantum-entangled communication. "The humans have exceeded every projection," she reported to Dominion High Command. "They've not only rebuilt from the war, they've improved. Their technological advancement in the past year equals what most species achieve in a decade. Should we be concerned?" Asked High Counselor Vax. "We should be prepared," Zhara replied. "The humans aren't expansionist, not yet. But they're ambitious, curious, and they learn frighteningly fast. Give them another decade, and they'll be technological equals. Give them a century, and they might surpass us. You recommend containment." "I recommend partnership," Zhara said firmly. "Containment is what led to the war. We tried to control Earth, and it cost us 2 dreadnoughts and 30,000 warriors. If we try again, we'll lose more. But if we work with them, if we make humanity our allies instead of our enemies, we gain access to the most innovative species in the galaxy." There was a long pause. Then, "The Council will consider your recommendation. In the meantime, maintain diplomatic relations and monitor human expansion carefully." After the communication ended, Krell emerged from the shadows where he'd been observing. "Do you really believe humanity won't become a threat?" "I believe humanity will become exactly what we make them," Zhara replied. "Treat them as enemies and they'll fight us to the death. Treat them as partners and they'll revolutionize our technology and our thinking. The Dominion has a choice: adapt to this new reality or repeat our mistakes until some other species does to us what the humans almost did." "You sound like you've gone native," Krell observed. "I sound like someone who learned from defeat," Zhara corrected. "The humans taught me that strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the largest fleet. It's about having the will to fight for what matters, and the wisdom to know when to stop fighting." The Dominion has been the biggest power in this sector for centuries. Maybe it's time we learn to be the wisest power instead. 3 years after the war, the first human-built starship capable of faster-than-light travel launched from Earth orbit. The UESS Magellan, named for the Portuguese explorer who'd circumnavigated Earth 5 centuries earlier, was a joint project of every major nation, incorporating Dominion FTL technology with human engineering innovations. President Martinez, now in her second term as Earth's Secretary General, attended the launch ceremony alongside Commander Zhara and representatives from a dozen alien species. "This ship represents humanity's next chapter," Martinez said in her speech. "We were forced into the galactic community through conflict, but we'll explore it through curiosity." The Magellan carries a crew of 60, scientists, diplomats, explorers, and their mission is simple: go see what's out there. Make friends, learn, and come home with stories. The ship departed to cheers from millions watching on Earth and across the station. Its mission would take it through sectors that no human had ever visited, to worlds that existed only as data points in Dominion star charts. "I envy them," Zhara said, watching the ship disappear into FTL. "The Dominion's exploration days ended centuries ago. Now we just conquer and consolidate. But humans, you're still discovering, still wondering. There's a lot of galaxy out there," Martinez replied. "Plenty of room for everyone to explore. Maybe the Dominion should try it again. Send out ships to learn instead of to conquer." "Perhaps," Zhara mused, "perhaps humans will teach us more than just how to fight. Perhaps you'll teach us how to wonder again." But not everyone in the galaxy viewed humanity's rise with approval. In a sector far from Earth, in a council chamber that had witnessed the fall of 100 civilizations, the hierarchs, the oldest and most powerful empire in the known galaxy, were discussing the human problem. "They defeated the Dominion," said Hierarch Prime, "a being so ancient that its species had forgotten what they'd originally looked like. A pre-contact civilization resisted integration and forced a negotiated peace. This cannot stand." "The Dominion was overconfident," argued Hierarch Third. "They underestimated the humans. We would not make the same mistake." "The mistake was allowing the humans to survive," Hierarch Prime countered. "They've established a precedent. Other species see their success and think they too can resist. The galactic order is built on the understanding that young species submit to elder guidance. Earth has broken that order. What do you propose?" asked Hierarch Seventh. "Nothing immediate," Hierarch Prime replied. "Let the humans expand. Let them think they've earned their place. And when they've grown comfortable, when they've spread themselves across multiple systems." The ancient being's voice took on a tone of terrible certainty. "Then we remind the galaxy who truly rules. The Dominion failed because they tried to integrate the humans. We will not make that error. When we move against Earth, it will be to eliminate, not to conquer. And when do we move? When the time is right. When Earth is most vulnerable. When removing them will serve as a lesson to every species in the galaxy." Hierarch Prime's presence seemed to fill the chamber. "The humans think they've won their freedom. But freedom is an illusion we allow young species to entertain. Eventually, all must kneel before the hierarchs, or cease to exist." The chamber fell silent, the weight of that threat hanging in the air like a storm about to break. But the hierarchs had forgotten something crucial, something the Dominion had learned the hard way. Humans don't kneel. We adapt, we learn, we survive, and we were already preparing for threats we couldn't yet see. Epilogue. The legend, 25 years after the Dominion War, Earth had transformed into something no one in those desperate early days could have imagined. Humanity now operated in 47 star systems, the same number of worlds the Dominion had controlled when they'd first found Earth. But Earth's expansion was different. We weren't conquerors. We were explorers, traders, mediators, and, when necessary, defenders. The galaxy had learned to respect that distinction. Colonel Santos, now General Santos, sat in her office at Earth's Strategic Defense Command, reviewing reports from across human space. At 73, she could have retired decades ago, but retirement wasn't in her nature. "General," her aide announced, "you have a visitor." Commander Zhara entered, though she now held the title of Ambassador-at-Large for the Kalthreen Dominion. She'd served at Crossroads Station for a quarter-century, becoming an unlikely friend to the species she'd once tried to conquer. Still working late, Zhara observed. Some habits never change, Santos replied. Though I hear the Dominion has changed quite a bit. The Reformation movement actually succeeded, largely due to Earth's example, Zhara acknowledged. 17 former subjugated species have been granted full autonomy. The Dominion Council now includes representatives from all member species, not just Kalthreen. We're becoming a confederation instead of an empire. It's chaotic, democratic, messy. Sounds human, Santos said with a smile. That's not an insult anymore, Zhara replied. When I first arrived at Earth, human was synonymous with primitive and irrational. Now it means innovative and resilient. Your species has changed the galactic vocabulary. We had good teachers, Santos said. You showed us what to fight against. Other species showed us what to fight for. And somehow we found our way. Zhara settled into a chair that had been modified for her physiology. I came to warn you. The hierarchs are moving. Not against Earth directly, they're too smart for that. But they're pressuring our smaller allies, testing our response time, probing for weaknesses. We've noticed, Santos said grimly. They think Earth's gotten too comfortable, too scattered across too many systems. They think we're vulnerable. Are you? Santos smiled, and it was the same predatory expression she'd worn 25 years ago when she'd volunteered for a suicide mission. Let them try. Earth learned our lesson from the Dominion War. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. The hierarchs aren't the Dominion, Zhara warned. They're older, more powerful, more patient. If they move against you, it won't be a simple invasion. It will be subtle, strategic, designed to undermine you before the first shot is fired. Then we'll have to be more subtle, Santos replied. More strategic, more unpredictable. The hierarchs may have centuries of experience, but we have something they've forgotten. The desperation of a species that knows what it's like to face extinction. That's a powerful motivator. She pulled up a star chart showing human space and the surrounding sectors. We've spent 25 years building alliances, not just with major powers like the Dominion, but with minor species, the ones everyone ignores. Those relationships matter. When the hierarchs move, they're going to find that touching Earth means touching a network of allies who've learned that cooperation beats subjugation. You're building a coalition, Zhara realized. We're building a family, Santos corrected. Species that look out for each other. Species that fight for each other. The hierarchs think galactic politics is about power hierarchies and ancient rights. We're teaching everyone that it's actually about who has your back when things get bad. In a classroom on Mars, now home to 3 million humans and the headquarters of the Interspecies Academic Exchange, Professor Tommy, Chen was teaching the next generation about the Dominion War. My question for you, he said to his mixed class of human and alien students, is why Earth won. Not how we've covered the tactics, the improvisation, the strategic decisions. I want to know why humanity succeeded where 47 other species failed. A young human student raised her hand. Because we fought harder? The Viridians fought hard too, Tommy replied. They resisted for 3 years before surrendering. Why did we last longer? A Kalthreen student, part of the exchange program that now brought alien students to human institutions, spoke up. Because you had no concept of logical surrender. The Dominion's entire strategy was built on the assumption that species calculate the odds and accept the inevitable. Humans didn't. Why not? Tommy pressed. Because, the Kalthreen student continued slowly, clearly working through the concept, humans don't base decisions purely on logic. You factor in emotion, intuition, cultural values. The Dominion calculated that Earth would surrender when casualties reached a certain threshold. But humans don't work that way. You'll die for ideas, for principles, for your pack, your family. Exactly, Tommy said. The Dominion treated conquest as a mathematical problem. X amount of force produces Y amount of submission. But humans aren't a math problem. We're a story problem. And stories don't end just because the numbers look bad. He pulled up footage from the war, images of humans fighting against impossible odds, of civilians becoming soldiers, of a species that refused to quit. This is what the galaxy learned from Earth, he said. That victory isn't always about who has the better weapons or the larger fleet. Sometimes it's about who wants it more. Who's willing to sacrifice more? Who refuses to give up even when giving up is the rational choice? An alien student from a species that had been conquered by the Dominion a century earlier asked quietly, "Do you think we could have won? If we'd fought like humans?" Tommy chose his words carefully. "I think every species has to make their own choices. The Dominion offered you the same ultimatum they offered us. Submit or die. You chose to submit, and I can't judge that. Maybe your calculation was right. Maybe preservation of your species mattered more than abstract freedom." He paused. "But I can tell you this. Earth's choice to fight wasn't purely rational either. We got lucky in 100 different ways. If the Dominion had been slightly more aggressive, if they'd committed more resources, if they'd been willing to just exterminate us instead of trying to conquer, we might have lost. But we rolled the dice anyway because humans are fundamentally optimistic, even when optimism looks like insanity. And now everyone knows it," the student said. "Now everyone knows it," Tommy agreed. Earth's war taught the galaxy that humans are crazy enough to fight unwinnable wars. And paradoxically, that reputation makes us safer, because nobody wants to find out exactly how crazy we're willing to be. At Crossroads Station, now a massive complex housing permanent populations from 60 species, former President Martinez stood at the memorial wall where names of the war's casualties were engraved. 25 million names, each one a story that ended too soon. "Do you ever wonder if it was worth it?" asked a voice behind her. Martinez turned to see a young woman, she couldn't have been more than 25, wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. "Every day," Martinez admitted. "I signed the orders that sent people to their deaths. I made decisions that condemned millions. The weight of that never goes away. But you'd make the same choices again?" "In a heartbeat," Martinez said without hesitation, "because the alternative was slavery. Not just for us, but for our children, our grandchildren, generations yet unborn. We fought so they could be free. That's worth any personal cost." The young diplomat nodded slowly. "I was born during the war, in a bunker in Shanghai. My parents always said that I came into the world screaming defiance at the aliens overhead." She smiled. "They died when I was 3. Kinetic strike on their refugee camp. I grew up hearing stories about the war, about how humanity fought back. Those stories shaped me." "I'm sorry for your loss," Martinez said. "Don't be. My parents died free. They died fighting. And they died knowing that I'd grow up in a world that humans controlled, not aliens." The diplomat looked at the memorial wall. "Every name here represents someone who made that choice. To die free rather than live in chains. That's the legacy they left us." "What's your name?" Martinez asked. "Ambassador Chen, Yuki Chen." She saw Martinez's expression change. "Yes, Major Yuki Tanaka was my aunt. She's why I joined the diplomatic corps. Figured if she could die to save Earth, I could live to help Earth thrive." Martinez smiled, tears in her eyes. "Your aunt was one of the bravest people I ever knew. She flew into certain death to protect her species. That takes a kind of courage that can't be taught." "Neither can diplomacy, apparently," Yuki replied. "But I'm learning. And I'm using everything your generation fought for to build relationships with species across the galaxy. So that maybe, hopefully, the next time humans face a threat, we won't be facing it alone." "You're building what we should have had from the beginning," Martinez realized. "A community, a support network. I'm building on the foundation you laid," Yuki corrected. "You taught the galaxy that humans don't break. Now I'm teaching them that we also don't forget our friends, that we're loyal, trustworthy, and worth standing beside. It's a different kind of warfare, but it's still warfare. We're just fighting with diplomacy instead of weapons." As the two women stood before the memorial, representatives from dozens of species passed by, each one pausing to pay their respects to the humans who died defending their world. It had become a tradition. Newly arrived aliens visiting the memorial, learning the names, understanding the cost of Earth's freedom. "You know what the real victory was?" Martinez said quietly. "Not that we beat the Dominion. That was important, but it wasn't the victory. The real victory was that we changed the rules. We proved that young species don't have to accept subjugation from older ones. We showed the galaxy that determination matters as much as technology. And we established that Earth, humanity, would write our own story, not have it written for us. And now the whole galaxy is watching to see what we write next," Yuki added. "Then let's write something worth reading," Martinez replied. "In the depths of space, in a region that no human ship had yet reached. Hierarch Prime received a report that made even that ancient being pause. The humans have established a defense pact with 18 species, the intelligence officer reported. Not a formal alliance, they're calling it a mutual cooperation agreement. But the effect is the same. Any attack on Earth now means facing a coalition. Clever, Hierarch Prime admitted. They're using politics to accomplish what their military can't, making themselves too expensive to attack. Very well, we'll adjust our timeline. Adjust to when, Hierarch Prime? To never, the ancient being replied. The humans have made their point. They're too well connected, too unpredictable and too dangerous to casually eliminate. More importantly, they've inspired other species to follow their example. If we move against Earth now, we risk triggering a broader conflict, one that might actually threaten even the hierarchs. So we leave them alone? We watch, Hierarch Prime corrected. We observe, we learn. And perhaps the ancient being paused, considering. Perhaps we do something the hierarchs have not done in millennia. Perhaps we adapt. If humans can reshape the galactic order in a generation, perhaps we can learn from their methods. After all, the goal was never simply to rule, but to maintain order. And if cooperation achieves that better than domination, the intelligence officer clicked in surprise, a gesture of shock that transcended species. You would negotiate with the humans? As equals, I would ensure the hierarchs remain relevant in a galaxy that is changing whether we approve or not, Hierarch Prime replied. The humans taught the Dominion that lesson. Better we learn it through observation than through another humiliating defeat. And so the galaxy's oldest empire began to study the galaxy's youngest major player, looking for lessons in a species that had rewritten all the rules in just 25 years. 50 years after the Dominion War, the memorial at Crossroads Station held its annual ceremony. General Santos had passed away 5 years earlier. She'd lived to see humanity establish presence in 97 systems and forge alliances with 42 species. Commander Zhara had retired to Earth, where she spent her days writing a history of the war from the Dominion perspective. But the memorial remained, and every year, survivors and descendants gathered to remember. Ambassador Yuki Chen, now heading the entire Earth Diplomatic Corps, placed a wreath at the base of the memorial wall. Around her, representatives from 83 species stood in respectful silence. The Dominion War Memorial had become more than just a human monument. It had become a symbol for the entire galaxy, a reminder that freedom is worth fighting for, that young species have rights, that power without wisdom leads to disaster. 50 years ago, Yuki said in her address, the Kalthreen Dominion arrived at Earth expecting routine compliance. They were bigger, stronger, more advanced. By every logical calculation, they should have won in weeks. She smiled. But humans don't care much for logic when our freedom is at stake. We fought back with everything we had, crude weapons, desperate tactics, and absolute unwillingness to surrender. We lost 25 million people. We nearly lost our entire civilization. But we won our freedom. The lesson Earth taught the galaxy wasn't that violence works. It was that self-determination matters. That every species deserves the right to shape its own destiny. That cooperation beats subjugation every single time. She gestured to the representatives from dozens of species. Look around. 100 years ago, most of you were either subjects of empires or struggling alone in the void. Now you're here, standing together, part of a galactic community that's built on mutual respect instead of conquest. That's Earth's real legacy. Not the war we won, but the peace we built afterward. As the ceremony concluded, a young human boy, maybe 10 years old, approached the memorial with his parents. He looked up at the towering wall of names, confused. Mom, he asked him, why did they fight? Couldn't they have just talked to the aliens? His mother, who'd been born during the war, knelt beside him. They tried, sweetheart, but the aliens didn't want to talk. They wanted to make us slaves, so our people fought back so that you could grow up free. Did it work? She smiled. You tell me. You're free, aren't you? The boy thought about it, then nodded seriously. I'm free. Then yes, his mother replied. It worked. And across the galaxy, on worlds that humans had never visited, in languages humans had never heard, parents were telling their children similar stories. Not just about Earth, but about the principle Earth represented, that freedom is worth fighting for, that young species can stand against old empires, that the future belongs to those brave enough to claim it. The Dominion had tried to conquer Earth and learned why that was a mistake. But more importantly, they and the entire galaxy learned why humans would never be conquered, because humans don't surrender. We adapt, we improvise, we fight with everything we have, and when we win, we build something better than what came before. That was Earth's fierce response to cosmic conquest, and it shocked the universe. End credits. The Dominion War lasted only 6 months, but its impact reshaped galactic politics for generations. Today, Earth stands as one of the galaxy's major powers, not through conquest, but through the respect earned by a species that refused to break. The Treaty of L1 remains the foundation of interstellar law, establishing that no species may be subjugated without consent. And every year, on the anniversary of first contact, species across the galaxy observe a moment of silence, remembering the humans who fought, the aliens who learned, and the day the universe discovered that humanity will never, ever surrender. This has been a No Signal Stories production. Remember, the stars may be cold and vast, but human will is infinite. Stay curious, stay defiant, and never forget, we're all aliens to someone.